Jeremiah part 10, and this is pretty much an overview of what I've done to get to the final text. So let's get started here. Now, this is the text that is just cleaned up so you can actually see what's there. Now, I have already put all the text together. So what I've done is come back and I put these labeling marks into where they're going to go in order, okay? But this text is going to show you that how I just tried to cut some of the um, verses as groups. As you can see that this is the bottom of the group and this will be the next group, although you can see the text is in order, but this is going to be moved to G. And then as I go down a little bit farther, you can see here was the 4-verse format, and I found that I did not need this. I made some small errors. So as you can see, the blue text here in this one is showing you that I removed them or I did not need them later. I couldn't find these pieces where they were to go. You can see that this is a 4-verse right in the middle of 3-verse to 3-verse, but I couldn't find even that piece to go someplace. So let me stop scrolling and try to help those that I can. And you can see here's another little piece that's stuck there that's didn't make it. I'm not sure. It's been a while. So, yeah, there's some more text. Now this text, you can see that it is in order with 4-verse, 4-verse. It read out of place, so I removed that. Um, Here again, just pieces stuck in the middle of 4-verse. And again, I couldn't move these to use them. Okay, it's kind of like they're already been said again down here, or maybe not a haunt of jackals. So I felt that this group was not needed. Now here you're going to see this group is going to be inserted into another group of text, but that will be coming up later. I moved some groups around. So this is a group that I moved here. When I was reading them and putting them in order, I had to move that group. Although maybe I'd done that in the first text. No, I did it here. When I was reading this and putting them into groups, I realized that this had to go before this text here, or about this text. So this text will be moved in order. So there will be some editing done here, not done in the future. And this I had not placed yet as a label, but it is going to get moved and it is going to get a label on it. Sometimes my fingers would hit the delete key when it's highlighted when I'm working someplace else. I forgot that I left the cursor in the wrong place. So, but I tried to make sure that I've double checked and rechecked so all the text is in the final text or the final book. These weren't needed. 2-verse, 4-verse stuck in the middle. I didn't think this is needed when you're reading it. It's just not there. Here, I'm going to re-edit this group into a 3-verse because I didn't notice it until here that the text needs to be put into 3-verse. This group is going to get inserted again, and I've also noted that I'm adding because this kind of reads as it should be there. I just didn't want to throw them out. So this seems to be missing text. There is going to be a drought in the story, and this is not going to be mentioned. Now, I know I'm very familiar with the text, and this is actually going to be mentioned again when a king sends them out to look for water, that they came back and they went out and the scene, the ground was starting to crack and there hadn't been no rain, and our farmers have been shamed. This text, I'm sure, isn't there, but when they went out to find water for the king, that I know is in another text or another book. Here, this, when the stories were combined, this text here doesn't make sense when it's reading, because it is, when it says, nor the famine will last, the famine will last, okay? So this text is not true, and will probably go through for another text, another book somewhere else. As you can see, my labeling here, I actually used up to 4 letters, like A, and A, and then I went through all the lettering. So when you see these, there's quite a bit of scrambling going on with the text. Now, these are notes for me to go forward, and those might get edited. Here, this text stuck out like a sore thumb, didn't go with any of the mesh text at the end. So I'm removing it here. And I'm removing text here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop here and say that, hey, you need to follow this PDF to let me put down a note here also. Okay, so that's okay. Now you got the idea that they're in order, and there's things that need to be thrown out. So now it comes to the next text, and that will be, I took all the 2 verse now, and I put them in order of the way that the text, just like it, I just removed it just to get the 2 verse here. And here I was noticing like the story splits. It's just different, even though that looks like it could go together. I'm kind of making notes to myself to split them. And here it doesn't have the actual chapter starting here, but a lot of the text, I know when I put spaces in between it, that it actually came up that this was pretty much in order. And then out of all of chapter 5, that was it that was left. And yet you can see it follows with chapter 6 here pretty good. But when I didn't put much spacing in between them, I kind of figured that the text goes together. See how I started breaking them? Like all that text you just seen kind of goes together as a group. But that's what I generally done with the 2 verse, and some extra notes for myself. Now, what I did next was, let's see. Now I put them in order, and all this text is this was backdated to get these labeling. And you can see that I'm starting to edit the text here. All this editing text will be in the second to the last PDF, okay? So all what you're seeing here, I'm going to try to go over in that probably the next video, because right now I just want to kind of just show you that uh, how I took the two verses and I put them into uh, text that really kind of reads very good. When I kind of put, look, I took BB and I went to, okay, I used just the second BB. But then C followed pretty good. But all of a sudden you'll find that, where is it? The next group, C. They all seem to be in order. Yeah, this two versing was all this group from B to C. So all the two versing pretty much was actually in order correctly when it was done, okay, and placed into the text. So you can see I started at BB and went to here, and that would have been the end, and I'd start over with C. So that was unique to me when I seen that, how it went and played out. It's just something to see how they would scramble text together. Now this here is a 3-verse. Now these are the 3 verses. Again, they're in order. And yes, I will have blue text in here that I'm removing. But this here text is in order the way the book is. But I did end up getting to put the markings in on this piece. So there are things that I did differently as I was going, but it takes so long to do these editings that I didn't go back and do everything. Here, when I'm reordering this 3-verse, you notice that this one here, I needed to stick up here because you notice I got it as EE and I got A here. It's really much, pretty much of a note that this piece didn't go with any of the text below. It actually goes with a 4-verse group. So I just want to make sure that this is noted here. But again, here it's got the editing. I showed you or told you about that I was going to make it into a 3-verse. So here's that 3-verse to make it from a 4-verse. And then I went through all of this. Now, I've lost the in order for the 4-verse group. So what I have here is the reordered of 4-verse, okay, and the back editing. Now, these numbers here, that was text that I kind of entered a key and erased the text. So when I went back and I found out that, hey, double checking everything paid off because I lost this text. So I labeled it as a number to show that. Now, I got, I think, 3 times or 2 times that I've got text thrown out that I had to re-edit later. But here's the 4-verse together. Now, let's see if I pull up the next one. Oops, come on. Okay, now this is what I hopefully to go over now because I put all the text together. I have them in order. So these you'll see follow in order. See this? So this is where I ended up grabbing these pieces and going backwards in a lot of the text. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the editing that I feel that's needed here at this time. This here is the years. this has to be in the 10th year when this, um, I know it reads out of place, okay? You think it reads out of place, but what this is when he went and had this guy here go and buy it, the text says that he is supposed to go write down everything that Jeremiah. Now, is that true now? I don't think so. But the object is, this was said in the 10th year, but it's kind of like an introduction of what about Jeremiah, because here the story is a quick outline of what was to happen. Okay. So as you notice, all these pieces all of a sudden start going together, but it is this story having to be placed first, and then the text actually becomes the story of Jeremiah and in order of the kings. But that is an introduction, which is unique. Um, I'm pretty sure I didn't do that in our Creator's Everlasting Promises formats. Now remember, that text is always number one. This is just so I'm covering all bases of what can be done with the text by someone like myself who knows or has actually been telling people our Creator made me see him 8 times. So I am well qualified. I don't think any person in the future is going to um, be able to say that. But the thing here is the text I felt needed to be shown of the destruction, yet still, because I knew this existed in the text. Okay. Um, when you can see that I started in a lot of my edits and my videos was showed that the text I found, these formats, was way back in 95. Okay, now they weren't exactly perfect as they are now. That's kind of why I'm doing them now. But pretty much I had found these formats, so I made the text um, really much in a line with the breaking of these new sentences and knew the groupings in them. So this is small editing. I'm not going to go over. Still thinking about changing this word. Now here, when the text comes in here from order to order, I wrote them on a scroll. Now this would have been Jeremiah saying that he put them on a scroll. Because when you read the text, these words just don't read right. So I'm putting my own words in here to make it read that Jeremiah was writing them, because some of the texts you'll see are very personal, so he had to write them. He wouldn't have somebody else write them for him. But he was commanded later to have that guy uh, do some writing. So I just thought that I'd put that at the introduction, and then you'd see it later. I just didn't know where to stick that text except for at the beginning. Let's see here. And I added this text here because when I went through some of these, I found out I had forgot to finish editing and cleaning them up to add the text then to have these 2 words put together. And as you can see, made it 3 words here. But what I'm talking about is example. I use one word here, and I'm attaching it with smaller words. One word here and one word here. And you can see this being repeated throughout most of the text. Now, there are a few times that I didn't, and this is one of them, because our Creator refers to Jesus as his Holy One. So I didn't want to break this up, and I didn't want to use the word Yah here, which is the word that they had given Jesus as his name, who he is to be in the future. Signals to flags. Um, they would have represented the tribes where they were at when in the battle. So if you got lost, you looked for your flag and then come back to your troops area. Now here I did quite a bit of editing. This was more or less because when you read it, it went from being their sins to your sins. I think this is a story. Yeah, this is, when you see it all together, this is where after a prophecy, he's talking to the people afterwards. So this had to be put in that way. And then he's describing the good people, the Israelis, uh, who are the gentle. And this is what's happening here. So that trying to make it first person correctly is what's going on. Then this had to be edited correctly. Now, committed is still an in question word. And here is this one verse that was left out in the middle of a group, but it fit. Okay, just to let you know that pieces do go together, or can be gone together. So, okay, stuck with 4 verse group. Okay, now this is the text I was saying that when you read this, you'll read it that it does sound like it goes together. So much so that I have to make this note that they do kind of go together, and it is odd that they do. Of all the texts I've done so far, this is the only one that I can point to that would do this. So that is a difference here. Misfortune to disaster. We're talking about our Creator's prophecy, and it wasn't a misfortune, it was a disaster that he was bringing on them. And the word what, I'm going to explain again. People would say, why is that at the ending of the sentence? Because it is a meaning of a conversation. If somebody asks you what happened, you would have to go through and describe the who, what, when, and where, and why. In this disaster, what he had prophesied, because all the things that he prophesied, I can sum up into the word what. Okay, the disaster and all the things that were going to happen. Because you got to realize these are over, I think, 23 or 4 years long that he's prophesying, starting with, let's see if I better put the list of kings up here. But yeah, see, now we're into this king here. Yeah, it was a good time to put it, because everything right now might have been on the first king. And now we're going to go to the next king here. Now, I know I might not be saying these exactly right because I'm doing this from memory. So don't get excited if you spot something in the future that, well, he lied here. No, I just didn't remember what was going on at this time. And here I found a 4 verse that needed to be down to 3 verse, so I got rid of that text. Put to throw away. You don't put away, because then you're saving them. So you can't be saving your detestable idols. You have to be throwing them away. First person. all day light. Well, this needs to be long, and this is one of them that needs the three words that I was pointing out to earlier. This here is his name that he's used, that um, he would have known that that is his name, that Jesus' name at that time. Um, and added, because the text was so abrupt here, and yet the story fits in this area, I had to add this text to introduce. I think I had some of them marked, had no um, beginning in the text. I'm not sure if this is the one that I added it to, or the other one just fit right in and didn't need it. When I'm putting these into order, these words can't be here. Then I said, um, I, he's talking to the people now after the story, um, which is very unique to see this interplay of actual what happened. Very unique. Okay, I needed to move the word rain from here to here. When I cleaned up the text, you can see I really needed to clean this one up. Again, depends on which person he was speaking to flow with this story. I needed to change that at that time. Um, yes, I thought it was this um, you direction, but it's a they. Had to add now in Judah because the way the text is reading, I needed to add the extra words here. See, I got not feared, and I'm adding the word do not fear. It just reads better, but that would be a third word that I'm using in this verse. Change the word spite to likeness. I think that's even in one of the words that they used. I think they used the word spite once. So, and there's swords there that are coming. This needs to be added and not this, but the intent is pretty much the same. So I needed to change one word into three words to get the correct meaning. And they killed his people. And they're talking about those that are coming. They're even going to kill the believers, or not believers, but those that trusted our Creator. But they had fallen away, much like a lot of people today call themselves Christians, but they don't do anything that our Creator commanded. So it's just at this time, though, they knew better. Today, they just people today are not taught the correct text, and you should be doing everything that's in this text if you want to be, because once you come to find our Creator and you accept Him and Jesus, and then He sends you to Jesus, this text here is what Jesus was talking about as to obey His commands. So all this text becomes what you should be doing, and the more that you do them, the more righteous you are. At a certain point, like Christians say today, that, oh yes, I believe in Jesus. So did you listen to what he said and done it? And they stop there. They don't go um, doing the best they can of being as righteous as they can. And that I hope never happens again. This text should be finalized and be good to go for those that, because the more righteous you become, the closer you become to our Creator, and the more you are the living example of the truth that you are obeying all his commands and doing your best, not just saying it and not doing it, is a huge difference. Our Creator blesses you more, or gives you more insight, understanding, than everyone else around you. See, I'm still questioning what, what I'm going to do with those words. And then these words here are being removed. I think these are extra removings than what you've seen in the text before. But like I said, that text, you might have to follow that I did remove them. I think it was in the first one after I reordered it. That's important. But here, you can see I'm starting to pull out a lot of verses here. They just are not uh, needed. Now, I had made this note when I was doing the text, and now I know it's this guy didn't die because we're talking about this guy. It's his death, because the text will then just say, this guy here became king. Okay. So the thing here is now we have Babylon coming. Nebuchadnezzar can't be yet, because um, unless Nebuchadnezzar was made king when he was like 4 or something, this can't be true. So it has to be Babylon. And we don't have that text to know the truth of it. Like, and then here it's this king and not this king when the text was put together. Um, and this is his conversation after, um, again, after he says something. Okay. The 7th month, that's still a debate whether it is the 7th month. Um, I have a hard time. I think I'm going to agree with this at that time, because I think it's in the 9th month that the siege happens. So that's why I had before the siege, I added that text. So I do believe it's the 7th month. So some of these you can start timing and starting to actually do a timeline, like you see this happened, this happened, this happened. Uh, you're gonna you're gonna see people make new timelines, and I'm hoping that that fits in correctly, because I'm not gonna do an actual timeline. I'm gonna do my best when I'm doing these and clean them up, because a lot of this text is going to go forward, and a lot of maybe other text is going to mesh together. Depends on what it is, because um, example, Uriah here, it might be Ezekiel. Okay, so um, that needs to be cleaned up later, but I can't do that until after I get Ezekiel done and finalize it, and then read it to see where it actually goes with the other books. Ezekiel does talk about the destruction of Jerusalem, so that's why I'm saying what I'm saying here. Bring the brought, um, and had to add his name here, Yah, because when you read it when it's all cleaned up, um, so here's one of those special notes that I had to add. I think for the text to be moved around. Yeah, I'm racing through it to get to the end here, see if there's anything really um, I'm sure you can agree with most of these, especially if you actually read the text in the final and you say, okay, it sounds better than what it was. It seeks your throne, not your life. The throne is what they were seeking, not so much. Because here, we're this is the difference between when I showed you the king. Was he going to die? Well, it was this king that's going to die. He's foretelling his death. That's going to happen. Geokum there. Um, and then the story was changed around that I had to use this king's advisors, but they ended up being this king's advisors. They were um, they were continued as, because the story actually sounds like as if they collaborated with this guy to take over the throne to get rid of him. So we don't have the reason why, but this changing here will end up showing people when they're studying it that these advisors were with the next king. You'd figure they would change advisors, but they didn't. So you knew how corrupt his kingdom was going to be right from the beginning. Um, and this is where I was correcting the text to say, write this um, to match with the other text above. Because some of the dating started clearing up in the text here. Here's where I had to, where it said your advisors. I wanted to specifically say his advisors, and then you would know that they were wicked because of the story that they collaborated with these guys to become him. So um, these guards didn't change. You'll see from in the story. Um, Now this text was meshed below because when the text um, was put together, uh, yes, this needed to be meshed down here, um, and then this here text was meshed with it above, and you can see that I had two labels, TTT above, but what I wanted to do was make sure that the text that I was mentioning that I moved, I wanted to place it in the text here. So I label it as 1. Um, and then you see that some of it didn't make it. Again, same thing here, only I did it correctly. And this is where they're added, removed. Okay, now this is not true from him to him, or it's him to him. You can see it over here on this, up, up here. Okay, I'm gonna have to get organized on that. So that's the correct order. It has to be the 9th year that this happened. It took place in the 8th month. See, I'm leaving 8th month here, and I had him die in the 7th month. So I'm thinking that this is correct. Okay, but this might be a note still going future. Some of these dates and things that I'm really in question are, again, um, left in the final text, but a lot of this that I'm good with will be left. I had to add the word doorway that was hidden from them. It's mentioned in the other text I had. This is the meshing text going in. And when you have this, as I'm using this instead of this one here, that's why they're tied together close like that. And then had to rearrange some of the words or get the words correctly. And I'm bound and chained, so we know that they weren't just fretters, they were chained. And it wasn't chains, it was, the text will say that he were like an ankle bracelet was on them. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time and I'm trying to make this into one video. Oh, I re-edited these verses. These verses were clean. I noticed that the word years was with this one here. To get it completed, I could revise that to get it correct. And then these are the ones that belong in the someplace else in another book. They're Moab and then Ammon. So those will get stuck there. But now what I want to show you is the last one here. Now this is going to be, now I don't have it right now of the labeling. And you can see I'm starting to put in labels as I'm going here. But I'm mentioning that there are going to be some marks here that remain that need to be done. Now these will be carried through until I start putting all the books together, and I'm probably will leave all that, hopefully I'll remember to leave all that editing to the final book when it's all done, so it's easier for you to follow the editing that I'm doing, uh, to make sure that I might have lost some, but I want the majority to be seen, but is what I've done with the text. So this is pretty much going to be the ending of it. Or no, this is the final text that I believe is going to happen right now. You can see I've got marked spaces right now. When you see the PDF, it should have all those in there. It's just helpful that I get them done. It's just I didn't want to do them right now. And this video is getting a little long, but you got the idea what's going on here. And that's the editing of Jeremiah as of today. Well, let's see, I've got it here again. See, I started back in 96. So anyways, that's the end.